Welcome back everyone to the Blender Creator course, Stylized 3D Models, and this is where we left it off. Now the best thing is when you're creating a geometry node, just make sure that you have a lot of group inputs. And the reason is because then we can go actually to modeling and we don't need to worry about going into the geometry node. So now you can see I can bring this up. I'm going to slot this into place first of all. So I'm going to press 7 to go over the top. We can see that we need a few more planks on there. So let's get maybe one more plank on there. So plank count, let's put it up, and then what I'll do is I'll shrink this down a little bit. So I'm going to press S, shrink it down a little bit, 7 to go over the top again, and maybe I've shrunk it down a little bit too much, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it back. Now you can see that the plank length needs bringing down, so I'm going to bring that down a little bit, and then also we want to change the angle now. So I want to change the angle and I want to bend it a little bit. Now with the planks, if I press 1, I need to bring it round, so R, Y, and let's bring it down to where we want it. So I'm thinking that the top of the roof is going to be along here. So I'm just going to put this wood up. So Shift D, let's just bring it up and just show where the top of the actual roof is going to be. So the top of the roof is going to be around here. And what we want to do is we want to make another piece that's going to go down here. So what I'm going to do is just going to stretch this out. So SY, just to show me, give me an idea where it's going to go. And then I'm going to put another piece, so Shift D, and bring it down. And that is where I want my plank of wood to come. So I want it to come down to here, but I also want it to have a slope. Now, have I gave enough room? Let's pull it down just a little bit more. And then what we'll do is we'll bring it into there. That is where I want it to come to. And then I'll increase the plank length. So let's increase the plank length, like so. Let's bring it down a little bit more, pull it out a little bit, and then I want it to come really down to the bottom of here. So R, Y, bend it round. Let's pull it down into place like so. Now it's important that we get it to be the right place before we start anything, because that way then we can actually work with what we've actually got. Don't forget as well, there's also going to be a roof on top of here, so it actually needs pulling down a little bit lower, like so. And now you can see it's slotting right on there. Now the one thing we can see is that these are overhanging way too much. So I'm going to pull these back now. So plank length, pull it back, perhaps something like there. Plank thickness, I'm also going to pull back because I feel like these planks, they are quite thick. So let's pull them back a little bit. So let's pull them back like so. And let's actually move down what we've actually got. Now the width, are you happy with that width, or do you want planks that are a little bit thinner than this? I think actually I want planks that are a little bit thinner. So what I'm going to do is turn my plank up, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down my gap like so, and then I'm going to bring down my actual width of my planks like so, and there you go. You can see how easy this is to work with. Let's put one more in place, so like so, and then we'll just move it over just like that, just getting it into some sort of place that we're happy with. Now let's move our way down. So we have the number of subdivisions. This is the number of subdivisions going across. You're going to need more of these if you're actually bending it really violently, let's say. Now the rotation up or down, if we turn this up or down, you can see that we've got a lot of control then of how this is going to look really random. And I actually want it to look kind of random. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come down, turn it so it's like this. And there we go. We've got a fair bit of randomness in there, and that's what I like to see. So maybe a little bit less. Okay, up and down seed. This is just the seed basically of this up and down. So it just gives you a different seed in case you're not happy with this one without doing too much work. Then we have a random width. Let's turn this down a little bit. Now you have to be very careful when you do this, because obviously you're going to lose some gap. So what you need to do is you need to work with this random width and your gap to make sure that they all come together. Now you can see that I've got to bring them in a little bit, but I don't want to bring them in so they're actually really touching over each other. You can see exactly what I mean there. Probably too much gap in this one here. So what I'll do is I'll come down to where it says, where is it, random width, and just turn that up very slightly, come to my gap, turn this down or up very slightly like so, and I think that looks pretty good. Add in another plank just to the side of it. There we go. All right, working our way down then. So rotation left and right. You want to be very careful when you're using this because you don't want it to do too much. So you can see there, I can rotate it just a little bit to the left or right. Up to you whether you have that on. I think I will just rotate it just very slightly to the left And then what you can do is you can change the seed on that. Random width we've already done. Width seed we've already done. Random length is one I always like to mess around with. Let's bring that either up or down. So let's bring it down like that. And you can see now this is looking really, really cool already. Now finally, let's save out our work. I always save out my work before I mess around with the bend angle because it seems to take a lot of computer power to actually bend these things. So I always, do that first. Now with the bend, we want to go to bend. We can see that we can bend it like this, which we don't really want. We can also bend it like this. Not that one, sorry. Bend angle. Yes, there we go. We can bend it like this, and that is actually what we want to do. But before we do that, let's go to compress. So we can also compress it for your Japanese type roofs or something like that. Or you can compress it the other way, like so. And you can actually mix these together as well. So on one hand, you can bend the angle. So let's say we want it bending like this. And on the other hand, you can also bend it in like this. So you can see we have a lot of control over this actual geometry node, all in this menu over here. So this is why you really want to get into geometry nodes. They're really, really handy to have and use. Now you can see because I've been bending it all kinds of places, that I'm going to have to move it back down now. And I'm going to move it down just to there. And then what I'm going to do now is we're going to bring in our roof, because basically we want our roof to kind of follow this as well. And they're not going to follow exactly. So you've just got to bring in a roof, put it on top, and then kind of put them together. And then you'll be able to use them and then build around that. But at the moment, I'm happy with how far this is stuck out. My roof tiles want to be stuck out a little bit further. So I have got the option of bringing this back a little bit with my plank length. So I can actually bring it back, as you can see, like so. And then we'll get our roof on and see if that's actually going to fit in place as well. So now we've got this on. Let's come in and bring in our next geometry node. So we'll go to Asset Manager. And then what we'll do is we'll come in, bring in my roof like so. And you can see again, this actually has the same sort of material on, where every single island has been randomized with a different material. I'm going to press R and Z and move this around. And then what we're going to do now, we're going to go back to geometry nodes. So I'm going to come to my geometry nodes and go through this one as well. Now you can see with this one, it's a lot more messy. And the other thing is the group inputs aren't as obvious, because when I created this one, I didn't actually know that you can actually have group outputs on each of these. So you can see that this is not, this is really not how you want to actually build geometry nodes. This is a mess, and we don't actually want this mess in there. The thing is though, when you start dealing with geometry nodes and the more complex they are, you're like just trying to work out and figure out how to do something. Something actually works and then you're plugging it into something else. So this one here, I should come in and really tidy this up much more than what I did. Now we do have the geometry bend nodes in there as well, so we can actually bend this at the same time. This geometry node is more for you, so you can use it throughout your projects. If you was going, I wouldn't actually mess around with this one too much. What I would do is I would take what this has in it, copy it, and make your own geometry node, which would probably be better than what I've created. All right, everyone, so let's now go back to modeling. The one good thing is though, on the right hand side, we have a lot of options like we did with this one. So that's the good thing. Now remember, whatever size you are making, your roof tiles, you need to consider that you need these over the other parts as well. So what I would do is I would bring this in and I would copy this then over to the rest. Now you can see with this roof, it's already bent, but it's nowhere near enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this up on here, and then I'm going to change the angle on this one. So the angle on this one is actually, you're able to change it, as you can see. So let's press 1, and what we'll do is we'll try and line this up. So I'm going to try and line this up to my roof tiles that I've already got, and you can see that I'm going to have to bring it out a lot more. So we've got a vertical count, which is the ones going down, of course. And you can see as I bring these down, I'm going to have to pull it out. So I'm going to pull it out, put it into place, like so. You can also see that my bend here is not what I want. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to my roof angle bend, and I'm actually going to bend that a little bit more. Now you might ask, we've got a roof angle bend here, but we've got a lock center as well. It means it bends from different points. In other words, lock center basically bends it from the center. If you turn it off, it's going to bend it from this point here. So it just makes it, sometimes it's easier to bend from this point rather than the center. That's what it's basically doing. Now let's put this in place, and we can see we've not got this quite right yet. We can see we've got probably an angle's a little bit out and the bend's also a little bit out. So let's bend it round a little bit more. Let's pick it up and let's see what the bend's like now. Is the bend going to be okay? We can see we've still got some issues in there. Let's pull it up a little bit. It doesn't need to be perfect. Now what we can see though is that we're probably going to need this to be a little bit smaller because these are actually coming off of here. So let's make it a little bit smaller. Let's pull it back a little bit. Let's pull it up like so. And let's sort that bend out now just so it's not quite as extreme. It's very, very finicky, this thing, to get this right. But once you've got it right, you can actually use this in the other builds. Again, I can see that I'm probably a little bit out on there. So I'm going to come in, change my roof angle down a little bit. And then it's my angle that's a little bit of a mess. So I'm going to change the angle up a little bit like so. And let's have a look at that. And that to me is looking much, much better. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the horizontal count. Keep going, keep going, keep going. All the way along. Like so. And we can see it's overlapping just a little bit on here. Now don't be afraid. What we can do is we can just press S and Y. Make it thinner on the fly. And there we go. We've got pretty much that in place. And what we'll do then on the next lesson is I will go through these options and just talk about a little bit more what we can actually do with this. The other thing, of course, is both the planks of wood and this actual roof we want to actually use again, but we do want to put our own materials on there. So we just need to take that into account as well. All right, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.